They say a church should be a sanctuary, but in Mexico, there is one where the sanctuary itself was swallowed whole by the earth. In 1943, a black fissure tore open the farmland outside a small village. Within hours, molten fire began to rise, spitting ash, burning fields, and covering homes in a choking darkness. By nightfall, the ground itself seemed alive. Rivers of lava poured down, consuming everything in their path. And yet, through this apocalyptic landscape, one structure refused to vanish. The Church of San Juan Parangaricutiro did not burn. It did not collapse. It did not disappear beneath the molten rock. The lava swallowed the town entire, but stopped at the church walls. What remains today is a sight so eerie it feels impossible. A half-buried cathedral, its altar and walls still standing in the middle of a frozen ocean of black volcanic stone. A miracle or a curse? Locals call it La Iglesia Encantada, the enchanted church. And while tourists come to marvel at its strange survival, villagers whisper something darker. They claim this place was never spared. It was chosen to carry the voices of the dead. San Juan Parangaricutiro once thrived as a farming town in the Mexican state of Michoacán. Before the eruption, its fields were fertile, its people close-knit, its church the beating heart of the community. But when Paricutín Volcano was born that February day in 1943, the town was erased within months. Every house, every street, every trace of life, gone beneath rivers of fire, except for the church. Today, the ruins lie at the edge of a dead landscape. Miles of jagged rock that look more like the surface of the moon than rural Mexico. The walls are blackened but unbroken. The bell tower juts out of the lava like a skeletal hand, pointing forever into the sky. And if you stand close enough, villagers say you'll feel it, a coldness that lingers even beneath the blazing sun. But why did this one building remain? Scientists say the lava cooled before it reached the heart of the church, that its position, slightly elevated, spared it from destruction. Logical, rational, a geological coincidence. Yet locals tell a different story. They believe the church was marked long before the eruption. Some say the Virgin Mary shielded it. Others whisper it was claimed by something far older, something that feeds on tragedy. Because in the years since the volcano's birth, the church has gained a reputation not of salvation, but of terror. Survivors from San Juan Parangaricutiro recalled a sound unlike anything human as the lava advanced. Not just the roaring of fire, but voices, cries, laughter, the sound of people buried alive beneath the molten stone. Some swore they heard church bells ringing, long after the bells had been torn down by ash and heat. And decades later, when the lava cooled and the ruins became a pilgrimage site, visitors began to report the same thing. Phantom bells, shadows at the altar, whispers in a language no one could understand. It is here, inside the walls of this cursed cathedral, where history and horror blur together. The Mexican government lists it as a cultural site, a tourist attraction, a geological wonder. But for the people who live nearby, it remains something far more sinister. Parents warn their children not to wander too close. Farmers still avoid working near the lava fields after dark, and even devout Catholics hesitate to pray inside the church. Because some believe that when the town burned, the souls of its people never left. So the question is this: Was the survival of San Juan Parangaricutiro's church a miracle from heaven? Or was it a marking from hell, a sign that what happened there was never meant to be forgotten or forgiven? As we step deeper into the ruins, we'll uncover the stories locals still whisper, of figures seen kneeling at the altar, of footsteps echoing through empty walls, and of a darkness that seems to throb beneath the stone itself. Because sometimes survival isn't a blessing. Sometimes it's the beginning of something far worse. The lava stopped at the church's doorstep, but the dead, it seems, never left. When the last villagers of San Juan Parangaricutiro fled in 1944, they carried almost nothing with them, just a few clothes, a crucifix, and their stories. And those stories have never stopped. Even now, more than 80 years after the eruption, the surrounding villages whisper that the ruins are not empty, that what was buried beneath the lava is not silent, because the church may have survived, but the people inside it did not. Old records kept in Michoacan's municipal archives tell us that when the lava began to spread, the townspeople ran to the church for safety. They thought its stone walls could shield them. Families crowded the pews, clutching their children, praying aloud. But salvation never came. When the lava reached the outskirts, the air grew unbreathable. Ash filled the nave. The earth beneath the church shook, splintering pews and shattering stained glass. And then the molten rock pressed against the doors. Some say dozens of families were still inside when the smoke consumed them. The official death toll has never been agreed upon, but villagers insist that not everyone escaped. And that is why the ruins are restless. Locals from nearby Angawan, the closest surviving town, share chilling stories passed from their grandparents. A farmer named Miguel once described hearing a choir echoing from the ruins as he worked in the fields at dusk. Not just a single voice, but dozens singing in harmony. When he approached, the sound stopped instantly, leaving only the rustle of the wind. Another villager, Rosa, swore that she saw candles burning in the half-buried nave, flickering lights deep inside the blackened walls, though no one had entered the ruins for days. And perhaps most unsettling of all are the children's tales. Parents claim their little ones wake at night, crying, saying they heard church bells ringing in their dreams, bells that tolled from beneath the ground. But folklore goes further than simple hauntings. In Michoacan's oral tradition, the eruption of Paricutín was seen not just as a geological event, but as punishment. Elders believed the town had grown prideful, forgetting the old ways, the balance with the land. And the volcano, sudden and violent, was nature's way of reclaiming what had been taken. The church, according to this belief, was not spared. It was offered. Some even claim the Virgin Mary, who once stood above the altar, is no longer a protector, but a watcher, a sentinel trapped in stone, bearing witness to the screams forever etched into the lava. And if you kneel inside today and close your eyes, locals say you may hear a voice whisper, "Todavía estamos aquí." We are still here. One chilling testimony was recorded in the 1970s when a young man from Angawan tried to spend the night among the ruins on a dare. At midnight, he swore he felt the ground vibrating beneath his body. Not the tremor of an earthquake, but something rhythmic, like hundreds of footsteps walking in circles below. He ran before dawn, but claimed he could still hear the echo of chanting in his ears for weeks afterward. He never returned. And then there are the photographs. Tourists who visit San Juan Parangaricutiro's ruins often take pictures of the bell tower, but some images show what should not be there. Figures leaning against the wall, faces peering from the stone. One photo, published in a local paper in the 1990s, appeared to show a group of children kneeling at the altar. Yet no children were present that day. The church, some insist, does not just preserve memories. It projects them. The most unnerving discovery came when archaeologists examined the cooled lava in the late 20th century. Beneath the hardened crust, they found pockets, hollow spaces where lava cooled around trapped air. In one of these cavities, near the church foundation, they uncovered something shocking. A wooden pew, perfectly preserved, suspended in black stone like a coffin. Some researchers considered it a geological anomaly, wood sealed in absence of oxygen. But locals point to it as proof that the church did not escape the volcano's wrath, that it holds bodies, objects, voices, all sealed alive inside molten rock. And maybe those things still want to be heard. So why do the stories persist? Why, after decades, do locals still refuse to walk the lava fields at night? Because some say that if you step too close to the ruins after dark, the ground beneath your feet is not silent. Press your ear to the stone, and you may hear the faint sound of scratching, as though someone or something is still trying to dig its way out. And when dawn comes, the marks are sometimes there, fresh grooves etched into the black rock, though no tool could cut it. The villagers tell their stories. The scientists give their explanations. But soon, one visitor will come face to face with the ruins themselves and discover that some legends are not just whispers, but warnings. I remember the first time I set foot in the ruins of San Juan Parangaricutiro's church. It was late afternoon. The sun was already sinking, bleeding orange across the jagged sea of black stone. The lava fields were endless, waves of frozen fire stretching beyond the horizon. Each step echoed strangely, as if the rock itself were hollow beneath my boots. And then, suddenly, it appeared. The church tower, blackened, broken, yet unbowed. It rose from the earth like a skeleton hand grasping for air. The closer I walked, the quieter the world became. No birds, no wind. Only my breathing, shallow and sharp. They say the church is a miracle, but standing before it, I felt no miracle. Only weight. The kind of weight you feel in cemeteries, where the dead press their silence against you. The entrance was half buried, but I climbed down over the rocks. Inside, the air was cooler, damp, almost suffocating. The nave stretched into shadow, a long corridor of broken stone and melted glass. The altar still stood, jagged but recognizable, like a wound that refused to close. And that's when I noticed it. Candles, small stubs wedged between stones. They were burned down to the wick, but still fresh. Someone had been here, not long before me. I should have turned back, but I didn't. The silence was overwhelming. I whispered just to prove my own voice still existed, but the sound didn't carry. It was swallowed whole, as though the walls themselves refused to let it leave. I reached the altar. My hand brushed the blackened stone. It was ice cold. And then I heard it. Faint, fragile, almost like static at first. Whispers. Not one voice, but many. Layers, rising and falling, murmuring in rhythm like a congregation praying beneath the floor. I froze. My heart hammered so hard it hurt. I leaned closer, convinced it was my imagination. But the sound grew sharper. A woman's voice, distinct from the others, whispering in rapid Spanish. I caught one phrase clearly. No hemos salido. We have not left. Every hair on my neck rose. I turned sharply, scanning the nave. Empty. Just stone, dust, and faint beams of light slicing through cracks above. But then, movement. Near the far corner, where the lava had sealed half the wall, I saw a shadow pull back, vanishing into the stone. I blinked. Nothing. My rational mind screamed, "It's the light, the dust, a trick of the eyes." But my gut told me otherwise. And then came the sound. It rang once, loud, metallic, right above me. But there are no bells here. They were torn down 8 decades ago. I staggered back, nearly tripping over the jagged rock. The whispers grew louder, rising into a chant now, words I couldn't understand. My ears rang, my chest tightened. It was as if the walls themselves were breathing, exhaling decades of suffocated prayers. I bolted for the entrance, scrambling back over the stone. My hands shook as I pulled myself into the open air. The chanting stopped the moment I crossed the threshold. Silence returned, as if nothing had ever happened. But silence can be worse, because silence leaves you with your own thoughts. And in that silence, I realized I wasn't alone. I turned one last time toward the church. The sun had dipped low now, shadows stretching across the lava fields. And that's when I saw them. Figures, not one, but dozens, standing at the altar, lined along the nave, motionless. Their outlines faint, smoky, translucent against the dark stone. All facing me, all waiting. My legs moved before my brain could process. I ran, stumbling across the lava, gasping for breath, never once daring to look back. I didn't stop until the tower was out of sight, swallowed by the jagged sea of black. That night, back in Anguahan, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that voice again, the woman whispering in Spanish, "No hemos salido." We have not left. And worse, my phone. I had taken photos inside the church. When I finally gathered the courage to look, my stomach dropped. One image showed me standing at the altar, my arms stretched forward, hand against the stone. But in the photo, I wasn't alone. A figure stood behind me, face obscured, hand raised in blessing or in warning. The photo is proof. Something is inside the ruins, something that does not want to be forgotten. And it's watching anyone who dares to enter. I should have never gone back, but obsession has its own gravity. After that first encounter inside the ruins of San Juan Parangaricutiro's church, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The whispers, the phantom bell, the figure in my photograph. Weeks passed. Every night I woke to the same sound, a faint tolling bell that no one else heard. Friends told me I looked pale, sickly, my eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. But I couldn't stay away. So one evening, just before dusk, I returned to the lava fields, alone. The black rock stretched endlessly beneath the fading sky. The church tower rose in the distance, half swallowed by stone, like the ruins of a kingdom never meant to be unearthed. I told myself I was only going to look, to prove it had been a trick of my mind. But as the sun slipped away and the last orange light drained from the horizon, I crossed the threshold once more. Inside, the air was colder than before. A damp chill clung to the walls, heavy with the smell of ash and stone. I set a lantern down on the broken floor. Its glow flickered against the nave, throwing long shadows that seemed to move on their own. And then the sound began again. Voices, dozens, rising like a tide beneath the earth. But this time, they weren't murmurs. They were screams, muffled, desperate, as though hundreds of throats cried out beneath molten rock. My chest tightened. My ears rang. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But I stood frozen, staring at the altar, because the stone was moving. At first, it was subtle. Tiny vibrations along the cracks, dust shaken loose. Then the surface rippled, as if something beneath was pressing outward. I stepped back, breath caught in my throat, and then a hand, black, brittle, and half-formed. It clawed from the altar stone, scraping against the rock. Another followed, and another. Dozens of hands, pushing, writhing, struggling to break through the lava itself. The screams grew louder, echoing through the nave, each one distinct. Men, women, children, trapped. I stumbled backward, lantern shaking in my hand. Its flames sputtered, nearly going out. Shadows stretched across the walls, twisting into faces, eyes hollow, mouths gaping, all turned toward me. And then silence, instant, absolute. The hands froze. The shadows melted back into the walls. Only my ragged breathing remained. And in that silence, I heard it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming from behind me. I turned, lantern raised. At the far end of the nave stood a figure, tall, cloaked in shadow, its outline faint and wavering. At first, I thought it was a man, but as it stepped closer, the light revealed something impossible. Its face was blank, smooth, no eyes, no mouth, just pale stone, like the Virgin Mary statue melted into flesh. It raised one arm slowly, pointing at the altar. The whispers returned, faint at first, then rising into a chorus. Quédate, stay. The figure tilted its head, waiting. My body locked in place, every muscle trembling. My mind screamed at me to move, but my legs refused. And then the altar cracked. A sharp, deafening split echoed through the nave as the stones split down the middle. From within poured a black smoke, thick and choking, curling into the air like a living thing. Faces swirled inside it, mouths open in silent screams. The figure stepped aside, as though inviting me closer. Quédate. I don't remember how I broke free. One moment, I was staring into the smoke, my body trembling, as though my will was being pulled out of me. The next, I was running, lantern dropped, heart pounding, hands scraping against stone as I clawed my way out. The church did not chase me. The whispers did not follow. But I swear, as I scrambled across the black lava fields, I felt the ground pulsing beneath my feet, like a heartbeat. like something alive. When I finally reached the edge of the fields, gasping for air, the night was silent. Too silent. No insects, no wind. I looked back. The church tower loomed in the distance, unmoving, eternal. And yet, across the black horizon, faint and hollow, the bell rang again. The church does not need to chase you. Once you've stepped inside, it carries you with it. And no matter how far you run, the bell will find you. In the years since that night, I've tried to make sense of what I saw inside San Juan Parangaricutiro's church. Was it exhaustion? Hallucination? The tricks of a restless mind? That's what I want to believe. But even now, decades after the Paricutín Volcano erased a town from the earth, people in Michoacán whisper the same stories. And every one of them echoes the same warning. The church is not empty. The people of Angajuan and surrounding villages rarely step onto the lava fields. Tourists wander freely, marveling at the jagged black stone and the miraculous survival of the church walls. But the locals know better. For them, the ruins are not a geological wonder. They are a grave. Farmers refuse to cross the lava at night. Children are taught never to play within sight of the tower. And elders still warn that the church is a place of voices. A place that remembers. In interviews collected by anthropologists during the 1980s, villagers repeated a haunting belief that when a person dies in Michoacán, their spirit may pass through San Juan Parangaricutiro's ruins on its way to the afterlife. That the lava sealed a doorway, a crack between worlds. Some souls move on, but others do not. One elder, Doña Marta, put it simply: El volcán se tragó al pueblo, pero las almas se quedaron. The volcano swallowed the town, but the souls remained. And then there are the modern reports. In recent years, hikers and pilgrims visiting the ruins described the same phenomena as survivors did generations ago. Bells ringing at dusk, chants echoing through stone, shadows kneeling at the altar. One visitor swore that while exploring the nave, he felt someone tugging at his sleeve, only to turn and find no one there. Another captured a video where a low hum can be heard, though his friends claim they heard nothing at the time. And perhaps the most chilling account comes from a priest who once attempted to bless the ruins. Midway through the prayer, his crucifix snapped clean in half. He never returned. Historians and scientists will tell you the survival of the church was chance. The lava cooled, the flow diverted, the walls happened to endure. But locals insist it was no accident. The church wasn't spared, it was chosen. A monument not to God's mercy, but to something older, darker, and unyielding. Something that still calls out from beneath the stone. I have not gone back since that night, but sometimes when I'm alone, I hear it. That hollow toll carried on no wind. I feel the pulse of stone beneath my feet, as if the lava field stretches further than maps can show. And in my dreams, I see them. Dozens of figures lined along the nave, waiting, watching. Their faces blurred, their mouths open in silent prayer. And always, that single phrase whispered in the dark: No hemos salido. We have not left. So if you ever find yourself in Michoacán, standing before the ruins of San Juan Parangaricutiro, remember this: You are not walking across dead stone. You are walking across memory, across voices sealed in fire. And if you press your ear to the altar, you might hear them too. Not echoes, not tricks of the mind, but the congregation that never left. Because sometimes the most cursed places are not the ones that were destroyed, but the ones that refused to die. And deep inside Mexico's most cursed church, the bell is still ringing. If you heard that bell, you already knew it was calling you. Subscribe before it finds you.